Hi, and welcome to the Grace Cast. I'm glad you're here. My name is Traci Baudin. I'm the Women's Ministries Associate here at Grace, and I'm joined today by Nneena. Will you introduce yourself?
Of course. My name's Nneena Akwari, and I'm an elder here at Grace.
Yeah.
Been here for a long time.
Yeah. So we've been friends a long time.
We've been friends for a long time, and you have some news for us.
I do. I'm a brand new grandma for the first time. That's really cool. Little Paisley is bringing all the joy. That's her middle name, too. Bringing all the joy into our life. I was telling somebody earlier that I get to babysit tomorrow, so I'm really excited about that.
Yes, that will be so exciting, but don't spoil it too much, because then you'll still have to go to sleep at some point.
Somebody said, how do you not just sit there and stare at her all day? I'm like, I do. That's exactly what I do.
Yes, that would be so cool.
So we're talking today about hard conversations, and it's really appropriate for our whole world right now, right? We're kind of constantly bombarded with things that can cause division between us. And so we thought it might be good to have a conversation about what kind of things make conversations hard. How can we have those hard conversations in a way that honors God and honors each other? So many times I think we can let difference of opinions cause distance between us. Yet in Christ, we're one. And so how can we have those conversations, but celebrate what we are united in, along with our differences, right? Because our differences is what makes the body beautiful.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I think it's almost easier to have conversations when you're at church. Yeah. Because you have a body that has the same belief.
Yeah.
So we have the same guiding principles.
Yeah.
That does not preclude Christians from having differences in opinion about worldly things.
Sure.
So I think the hard conversations are there, but if we remember that we belong, it makes it a little bit easier to have those conversations.
Right. Years ago, I went to this children's ministries conference, and they are like you need to be doing ministry in a way that every kid you meet, every parent you meet, you look at and you think they are a child of God. And I think that really applies to hard conversations, right? We can get so upset about differences of opinion, but in reality, we're all children of God, and that should bring us together.
Yes. So there's a difference how we respond to the things that are happening in our world today, right? We sing about it. Yeah. They would know that we're Christians by our love. So we have to really have those conversations in love.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and instead of doing this sort of one way from the pulpit, so having one of the pastors preach about having hard conversations to us, we thought a conversation together would be a better way to handle it.
Absolutely.
I think one of the questions I thought of is what kinds of hard conversations are out there that we're dealing with right now? Yeah.
Just a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
Because of the way the world is, we cannot now have differences in opinion.
Yeah.
So we have camps, because you believe this, you belong to this camp or whatever. So we have to bring it back to who we are, what our core beliefs are. So it could be political.
Could be.
And those ones are the things that we try not to bring into the church.
Yeah.
We still need to have the ability to love one another regardless of what we believe politically.
Yeah. Could even be theological, right? We might, within the one body here at Grace, we have differences in theology. And to me, that's something, I've been Presbyterian my whole life. And that's something I always found beautiful, is that there's room, and I'm sure other denominations are that way too. It's just, this is the one I know. But I think it's beautiful in that there's room for a little difference of opinion, even theologically, in what we believe, maybe about baptism or different theological topics.
And we do have the opportunity to talk about those things, like when we invite someone to be a leader in our church, right? So we still have to ask them those questions. What is it that you believe? So that we can have those conversations. If you believe, like you mentioned, baptism, that if you're not dipped inside a pool, then we just need to talk about what does it mean. You know, what does Christ intend when he says, go out and baptize the whole world?
Right.
You know, there are people who live in the desert.
It's like those differences should be conversation starters, not conversation enders.
Exactly.
And so many times we can let anger creep in and have those differences end the conversation. But in reality, what we're called to do is to have that conversation and lean into it. I was trying to think, can you think of any hard conversations in the Bible? You know, we've been doing Bible in a year, and there's a lot there.
There's been just a lot, right? When you think about Saul, for instance, you know, has the conversation with the prophet. You know, and that's really hard for Samuel to come up there and say, God has left you. That is a very hard conversation. But it doesn't mean that we agree with it. But we also have to remember that God has the ultimate decision in the matter. I was thinking one that popped in my head was when Nathan confronts David about his sin with Bathsheba. And then even later, we haven't gotten to this part in Bible in a Year in the New Testament, but where Paul confronts Peter about sort of forcing the Gentiles to eat certain things or follow certain Jewish laws, and Paul has to confront him and go, this isn't right, you know? And so we have some models. I mean, Jesus had hard conversations all over the place. All the time.
So
all the time.
He's a good model for us. A good model for us. I know one of the verses that popped up in my head was one that personally to me is very convicting. It's James 1:19. It says, understand this, my dear brothers and sisters, you must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. And I feel like that's the complete opposite of what's happening in our world today.
Absolutely. And I think also that really brings up a really good point. A lot of people these days do not have the, I don't want to say ability, but they don't want to have conversations face to face. Right? And they take it online. And when you are having that type of intimate theological conversation online, it really separates people, right? Then the anger has been taken outside. And I think that's where we need to pull back a little bit and just say, what is it that you meant about that? You know, and just have that conversation. I say that because I have, I'm a mother of younger adults, and it's easier for them to just go on a keyboard and type things as opposed to talking to people face to face. So,
and it's so dangerous, right? Because it's so much easier to say the wrong thing when you're just typing it in and it's all online. But sitting here face to face, right? I'm going to be more careful of your feelings just naturally. And maybe try to look at it from your point of view and not just my own. I think that's something that I think is sort of out of practice, is putting yourself in someone else's shoes. And we tend to think about ourselves. I mean, we're human. It's our natural tendency to be selfish, right? And to be self-centered. And so to constantly be thinking about, you know, what I want and what I need and what I think is right. And while you're talking, I'm planning my rebuttal, right? And so if we can stop and put ourselves in someone else's shoes, I think it can help that conversation.
And to have a little bit of control. You know, it's easier to retweet what is not true than to call somebody and say, did you mean it this way?
Right.
And that's what we need to do, is just to come back and just say, you know, I've known Traci for a really long time. I don't think this is her.
She wouldn't do that.
She wouldn't do that.
She wouldn't, I promise.
She wouldn't do that.
Why do you think we avoid these hard conversations?
as you said, we're human.
Yeah.
We really don't want to do anything that is hard, especially now. You know, I can always say, oh, I really don't have time to deal with it right now. But also it's threatening.
Yeah.
What if you really think that way about me?
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I think self-preservation is really what it's about.
Oh, that's so good.
You know, I think we need to not believe our worst feelings. You know?
Yeah.
So we believe that she would hurt me. But if we really believe in Christ, and if we really believe that the golden rule is the way to go, then our conversation, we would live it out, right?
Yeah.
It would be our lives.
Yeah. I know I laughed when they asked me to do this because I have spent almost my whole life avoiding conflict. And so, and hard conversations.
Me too.
And I really, for most of my life, have been conflict averse. And so I think in my head, I always thought those hard conversations were like it was better buried than better to do that than the alternative of breaking a relationship. And I think what I've learned, honestly, probably in the last 10 years, really, is that those hard conversations are necessary to make the relationship stronger.
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree with
Ivy
that.
and I have this friend, and we were really struggling with some issues with her. And, you know, we went to her, and Ivy's like, you have to be able to talk to us and be honest about what's going on. And this friend just couldn't do it. And it made us so sad because it brought such a distance in our relationship. Whereas even if the conversation had been hard, it really would have brought us closer. Together. And honestly, I've learned so much from Ivy when it comes to this, because she won't let things sit. If there's distance, she wants to know why, and she will always come. And she's really taught me to be much more upfront with people and have those hard conversations, and lean into that it really honors the relationship much more than it might damage it if you can do it in the right way.
No, I totally agree, because our whole being is a conversation, right? The way you come into a room has already spoken volumes, right? And what I tell my girls is that you need to be the same person every day. If you're a smiling person, you better just muster it up every time you come out. Because when you don't, people will start assuming things. So your friend probably has a whole lot of cobwebs in their brain, you know, thinking about what is not true. So my difficulty is when I run into people and one day they're really great friends and they're just wonderful. And the next day it's like, I've never met you before. So I think that conflict of personality with the same person, I think that's what creates a lot of rumors, you know. So you just have to be yourself each time, you know, so.
Yeah, each hard conversation builds trust.
That's right.
She really changed my way of looking at it to go, wow, if this relationship is important to me, then I need to lean in on having those hard conversations and not back away from it. Then I need to do the hard thing and put the work in. So a few years ago, we've done a lot of Bible study together. When we did Hebrews, Jen Wilkin talked about that word that we see all throughout the New Testament of exhorting or exhortation. And she said that, you know, so many times we read exhort and we think that means to encourage, but that's not what exhort means. And she used the example, she said that exhorting is a good word and a hard word, that both of those are important in our lives, that we have to have people that we're able to say a good word to and a hard word. And we have to have people in our lives who will say a good word and a hard word to us. And I think that's important when you're having those hard conversations.
When somebody does not tell you what they think.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think we're protecting that person.
Yeah.
But if we do it correctly, like Colossians 4:6 says, let our conversations be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so you may know how to answer to everyone. Yeah. So I always say, when does it get too salty?
Or did you use the pepper instead of the salt?
Yeah, use the pepper instead of salt. But so that verse just has a lot of good things, grace and seasoning. Yeah. We just have to be able to forgive, and we have to be able to say the things that would not hurt.
Right.
And it's really hard not to hurt when you're angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what held me back for so long about having hard conversations, is that I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Right.
And so it was easier to not have the conversation than to risk hurting feelings.
Yeah.
But we're told in Ephesians 4 to speak the truth in love.
In love. That's right.
But it's still to speak the truth, And that means that sometimes the truth will be spoken to us in love.
And I think, we have to be careful with that as well. Like sometimes we use the Bible to color how we hurt people. Right? We have to
say some more about that.
Yeah. Like we say where, I'm just going to tell you this in love, but it's really not
not very loving.
It's not very loving. So we have to be careful how we actually quote the Bible to people. Because sometimes we just color hurtfulness with the Bible. And young girls, like my girls, would point that out to you, So we just, even though we have these sayings that Paul has for us, we still need to treat that person the way we want to be treated.
Yeah, that makes me think of, I think it's Matthew, I think it's in the Sermon on the Mount, where it talks about, take the log out of your eye before you take the speck out of your brother or sisters.
Perfect. That's exactly what, I think that's exactly what this
when we don't speak in love, then that's judgment. And that's where anger comes in and things escalate and the hard conversation turns into an argument.
Yeah. And that's how we alienate others. So we really, before we, there's a lot of confronting in our society today, because we say things like, I'm just going to go speak my truth.
Yeah.
Well, your truth may not be the truth.
Yeah.
It may not be everybody's truth. So I think when we are speaking our truth, we need to make sure that it's also biblical truth.
Yeah. And we're ambassadors for Christ.
Absolutely.
And so the words we use with each other are important.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you think we need to keep in mind when we're having a hard conversation? I was kind of looking back to see if I covered everything. Well, I know one thing, which is probably where you should start with a hard conversation, is to pray about it, right?
Yes.
I think that's a step we skip so many times. We let our feelings overwhelm us, and that's what drives us to a conversation instead of taking it to our Father.
Yeah. We have to check. What I have written down is that we have to check our conversation. We have to make sure that it's gospel truth and that we're not correcting people in anger.
Yeah.
So that's really... just take a step back and think about it before we... I have to remember that in traffic when I'm driving.
I know, me too, right? In our women's Bible study this semester, we've talked a lot about self-examination.
Yes.
And I think that's what prayer does for me, is it forces me to examine my motives. And sometimes you might take that to God and realize that maybe that hard conversation is not something you should have right now. It doesn't mean you have to have every hard conversation.
Exactly. There are certain things that are better left unsaid, right? Yeah. And you're absolutely right. We've been reading Daniel, and he prayed 3 times a day. And the prayer wasn't God give me. It said Daniel prayed in gratitude. Yeah. And here he is in exile, praying in gratitude. Yeah. So I think that's what we need to do before we go speak our mind.
Yeah. Also, if you're praying about having a conversation with someone, it's really hard to be mad. Too mad at at somebody you're praying for. You know, like I think that's a whole different level of boldness. If you can make it through praying for somebody and still be so angry that you're gonna come at them in anger. Yes, or bitterness.
One of the women in my disciple group brought that out, because there's one day that Julia was preaching. And she said, think of somebody that's hurt you. Yeah. And that's the person I want you to pray for this week. And this woman in my in my disciple group thought about her ex-husband. And she goes, the last person I want to pray
I know.
My ex-husband. Yeah. Because it brought out the hurt.
Sure.
But she was obedient, and she did that. And it really changed her heart.
Sure. Prayer always changes us, right? It always does. Yeah. I think, too, Matthew 18 tells us kind of how to confront someone, another believer who maybe we might see is kind of going down a wrong path or doing something wrong. That's kind of a different hard conversation that we haven't really talked about. But, just that direct, private interaction first, instead of taking it to all your friends and getting their opinions, like go talk to that person. And then if something's not reconciled, take it to
the elders.
Group. Yeah.
Bring it. Yeah. So I think the instructions on how to have these hard conversations are all in the Bible. Yeah. And the examples are there. Yeah. We just need to remember them when we're angry. Yeah.
I think, too, it's important to remember that when you're having a hard conversation, the focus isn't winning or being right. The focus is reconciling what's going on between you, finding some common ground. You might not agree on everything, but there's a whole lot of things that we can agree on, and taking solace in that, while there's beauty in our differences, and it's okay.
Yes,
to think differently about things.
I totally agree with that, because that's really what makes a beautiful family. Right? It's just the differences that we see. And we are all like covenant partners, brothers and sisters. But by golly, there are just certain people.
There's always certain ones.
There's just certain ones. Yes, absolutely.
Well, is there anything else that you would add before we wrap up?
I think this has been great. It's good to have this conversation with you.
I know. We don't get a lot of time one-on-one, so that's good. I've enjoyed it.
This is wonderful. Thank you.
So thank you for joining us today for the Grace Cast, and I hope you'll join us next time. I hope you'll come visit us on Sunday. Come join in as we worship together at 9:30. Stay afterwards and kind of dig in with us in this Bible in a Year plan that we've been doing. Maybe even have a hard conversation or two in a most loving way.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you next time. Thanks, Nneena.
Thank you.
Bye.